Alright, for number 5, this is a select all but apply, so there could be multiple angles here that are coterminal to 7 pi over 6. So we'll start by just figuring out if I add 2 pi to 7 pi over 6. What that's going to look like is 12 pi over 6. So if I add 12 pi over 6 to 7 pi over 6, you're going to end up with 19 pi over 6. And that's option F. And let's see here. We have another big one, 31 pi over 6. So let's see if this one works. So if I add 12 pi to this, so 12 pi over 6, essentially I'm adding another 2 pi to it. That would give us 31 pi over 6. So that's the other option. And now it looks like we have some negative values. If I take 7 pi over 6 and I subtract 2 pi, or in other words 12 pi over 6, so they have the same denominator, that will give us negative 5 pi over 6, which I believe I saw. Yep. And let's subtract 12 pi again. So negative 17 pi over 6. That's not an option. But I see this negative 29 pi over 6, so let's try one more time. So that would give me negative 29 pi over 6. So that's another one. The ones that are left, well, 9 over 6 reduces to 3 pi over 2, so that's definitely not it. And then 5 pi over 6 and negative 7 pi over 6 are just not right. A way that you could do this a shortcut way, if you're using your calculator, is you could do 7/6 and add 2 to it. And you can keep doing that. So see that if you just put the pi back in the numerator, it'd be 19 pi over 6, 31 pi over 6, 43 pi over 6. I didn't make that an option, but that would be kind of a way that you could avoid doing all this fraction work on paper. You could do the same thing with subtraction. So there's that negative 5 pi over 6. So I subtract 2 pi again, it gives me negative 17 pi over 6. And one more time, that negative 29 pi over 6. Again, I'm doing all the math without the pi because your calculator can't really handle the pi. So for 5, you should have B, C, E, and F. Let's take a look at number 6. This one's easier because it's in degrees, so you don't have to deal with the fractions. So basically for coterminal here, you're just going to take, and we're either going to add or subtract 360 degrees as many times as we need to get whether angles are coterminal. So if we start by, I'm just going to do this all on the calculator. So we're starting with 154. If I add 360 to it, we get 514, which is an option. That's option C. I still see some bigger angles, so let's keep adding 360. 874, not an option. 1, 2, 3, 4, that is an option. So 1,234 degrees. And all the angles that are left there are negative. So let's go back to 154 and subtract 360. So negative 206, that's an option. And let's do it again. Negative 566. One more time. Negative 926. All right, and since we didn't get either of those other options, as we added or subtracted 360 from our original, the ones that are circled are your answer.